And thank you to all the candidates who have come today to speak to us in the community about their different campaigns and what they're up to. What we will do is we will start with one ayah, or one verse of the Holy Quran, and our go-to reader refused to read today, so I will read that verse, and then we'll have our civic engagement team member Samia translate that verse. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm for God, witnesses in justice, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Be just, that is nearer to righteousness, and fear God. Indeed, God is acquainted with what you do.
Thank you very much. So, let me start by introducing our civic engagement team members so that everyone knows who they are. If you're a civic engagement team member at Dar al Hijrah, please stand up. We have Ustad Ahmed, Sister Samia, where is Sister Thuraya, and Munia is back there, and Abdul Razak right here, and Sister Mora is back there. And next we will have Mora actually opening us up with a few words, and then we'll start. The mic up.
Hear me better now? A little more?
There you go.
Welcome to the Dar al Hijrah Candidate Night event. And inshallah, in a couple of hours, the voters here will learn more about all various candidates, the local candidates running for Virginia and Fairfax County offices. With the knowledge gained from this event, it's hoped that you as voters will better exercise your divinely granted trust to elect the best officials to serve us all by His will. To put our civic and Islamic duties as voters in perspective, I have selected a few ayahs, verses from the Quran to read to you, to focus on why we are gathered here tonight. Surah Hijrah, the dwellings, which is chapter 49, verse 13. O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know each other. Verily, the most honorable of you with Allah is the believer who is righteous with al-taqwa, piety. Verily, Allah is the all-knowing, all-aware. Now, when focusing on issues that we as Muslims might find particularly important, whether the issue is discriminatory immigration policies like the Muslim ban, or bullying our kids in schools, attacks on free speech and economic lawfare in the case of anti-BDS legislation, or perhaps it's the high cost of housing, healthcare, or education affecting people of faiths. We should keep in mind these next two ayahs dealing with justice to guide us to make the best choice of the candidates. Surah Al-Nisa, Women. This is chapter 4, verse 58. Verily, Allah commands that you should render back your trust to those to whom they are due, and that when you judge between people, you judge with justice. Verily, how excellent is the teaching which He He, Allah, gives you. Truly, Allah is ever, all-hearing, all-seer. All-hearer, all-seer. The next ayah is one that Representative Ilhan Omar draws upon his guidance to keep your faith in Allah strong. It's also from Surah An-Nisa. It's chapter 4, verse 135. O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witness to Allah, even though it may be against yourselves or your parents or your kin, be he rich or poor. Allah is a better protector to all. So follow not the lusts of your heart, lest you swerve and avoid justice. And if you distort your witness or refuse to give justice, verily Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. So in conclusion, it is not enough to just complain about our current status in life. Rather, as believers, we must seek to actively change our individual and collective selves if we are ever to realize an improved status with blessings to life, as these next two ayahs indicate. This is from Surah Al-Hijrah, the Thunder. It's chapter 13, verses 11 and 12. For each person there are angels in succession, before and behind him. They guard him by the command of Allah. Verily, Allah will never change the condition of the people as long as they do not change their state of goodness themselves. Committing sins and being ungrateful or disobedient to Allah, things won't change for the better. But when Allah wills the people's punishment, there can be no turning it back, nor will they find besides him a protector. So it is he who shows you the lightning as both a sign of fear and of hope. It is he who raises up the clouds, heavy with fertilizing rains. So I'd just like us to all keep these stories in mind when we're thinking about the candidates who want to choose service.
Thank you very much. All right. So what we're going to do is, where's Thuraya? Can all the candidates see Thuraya back there? Thuraya, she's waiting. What we will do is the following, is because we have so many candidates, we are going to split the questions into state level, county level, and school board. And I know we have a soils and conservation, so we'll leave that at the county level. So what we'll do is we'll start with a question from one of our civic engagement team members, and if I will take the prerogative of the moderator to assign that question to the level of the candidates that are here that way. And we'll have each of the candidates speak for 90 seconds on the question, and what Thuraya will do is, if you see a one finger, you've got 30 seconds left. If you see two fingers, you've got 15 seconds left, and if you see this, you know what that means. Please stop. Does that make sense? All right, so we will start with the first question, and I think Ahmed is going to ask that question. You just ask it in place over there. Yeah.
I'm just thank you for being here. I'm really happy because I'm coming from the Middle East and finding all these benefits coming here. Because it is really materialization of democracy. And my question is a general question about health, because we believe that universal health is a right for everybody, but I don't know how we're going to react to this or what to do and how we're going to do it.
And I'm going to ask our state level candidates to start with that, and we will start with our current delegate, Alfonso Lopez. It's probably easier if you actually stand in your place. You can stay here now.
That's fine.
I'm just because I don't want you to lose time.
That's all right. Thank you. Well, healthcare is a privilege. It's not a right. My baby boy was born 2 months early and was in the NICU at Georgetown for 2.5 months. He's beautiful and healthy, 2 years old today. When we got the bill in October of that year, it was over $600,000. Without insurance, we would have had to declare bankruptcy. I know what it means for a family's finances if an accident or catastrophic illness happens. And that's why I fought so hard to expand Medicaid in Virginia and increase coverage for 400,000 people. It's why I work to maintain funding for free clinics in Virginia. It's why I helped pass legislation expanding healthcare access for immigrant mothers and children. And it's why I organized and held multilingual healthcare enrollment fairs in the 49th district, where we are right now, for years. And it's why I'm going to fight for us to build on what we've done to expand healthcare coverage in the coming years. Thank you.
And I'm going to go next to Kay Corey, our delegate from across the street. Here you go.
Well, it didn't used to be across the street. At one point, this was the third.
Yeah.
Good evening. I know that I have 90 seconds to talk about healthcare, but I just wanted to introduce myself briefly and remind you all that for the 9 years that I've been serving you, I have consistently fought for ambitious achievements that would be life-changing in terms of education, the environment, civil rights, criminal justice, and government transparency. And I hope you all realize that these have been efforts when there was a Republican majority that would not let much come out. However, I got to start the conversation, and I got to start the fights that nobody else would be in. And I'm very proud of that. About healthcare, Alfonso said a lot. We're all really pleased that we finally achieved Medicaid expansion, and that the money it saved the Commonwealth we were able to put into additional healthcare. It's been a long, long fight. I have also been working on maternal mortality. You all may know that women of color in Virginia have a huge, huge risk of death in childbirth. And the medical examiner is working with me to gather data so we can devise new programs. I think so. Stay with me and we'll make big progress.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go next to the candidates running, and I'm going to have Yasmin Tayyip running for State Senate answer that question, then we'll go to the next delegate candidates.
Thank you so much, State. As State mentioned, I'm Yasmin Tayyip. I'm running for State Senate right here in our district in the 35th. Healthcare is one of the main issues that myself and my team have been hearing on the doors while talking to voters since last September when I launched our campaign. At the federal level, I certainly support Medicare for all and ensuring that we do what we can to expand coverage in Virginia to eventually have universal coverage in Virginia. And I applaud my colleagues, our Democratic colleagues in the General Assembly who worked tirelessly to ensure that we expanded Medicaid to 400,000 additional Virginians that desperately needed it. What we need to continue to do is, as Alfonso mentioned, build on that. We need to ensure that we're fully funding our mental health care system, and in order to do that, I support increasing and raising taxes on the low taxes that we have right now on cigarettes to ensure that we pay for that.
Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to go to Andres and then JD. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. No, JD was, because Alfonso went first, so it's JD and then you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And it's a pleasure being out here with you this evening. My name is Julius D. Spanks, meaning call me JD. I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. And to what my good friend Alfonso has said, current delegate, 49, and he has been, I can't agree more. Medicaid expansion, we did a great thing there, but there is more to do. There's a number of people still in the Commonwealth who don't have health care. What I would like to see happen as far as healthcare goes and see what we can do to get some more money out to the Department of Education to tackle on some of these issues, these health-related issues, depression, anxiety that are affecting our kids, all right? Because they are our future. So with that, there's always room for improvement. We're not done, but I would hope that if I'm elected and down at the state level as your delegate, that I will pick up the mantle and continue to fight for the interests and the concerns of the people here in the 49th to do a pretty good job.
Thank you. And next we'll have Andres Jimenez, who is also running as a delegate. So just so that you know, Dar al Hijrah sits on like a full line, literally, or like a delegate line. So Delegate Corey and Andres are running for the district right across the street from Dar al Hijrah. So if you live across the street, Delegate Kakori is your delegate. Andres is running against Delegate Kakori, or primary. And then if you live in this area as well as Arlington, Delegate Alfonso Lopez is your delegate, and JD is running for that seat in the primary. Just a clarification,
This
please.
is really the best district in Virginia.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for having us tonight. My name is Andres Jimenez, and like Dave said, I'm running the 38th district, right across the street to help represent folks in the community. I'm an immigrant. There are so many immigrants in the 38th district, and your voice needs to be heard. Our voice needs to be heard. On your question, and thank you for that wonderful question, it's very important. Well, thank you so much. And working with delegates such as Alfonso Lopez, who have done so much on this issue, is the first step. But like J.D. Spain said, that's not the end of it. We need to continue to work with delegates. We need to continue to fight. We need to continue to ensure that low-income families have the universal health care, that everyone is afforded these privileges and rights. As a father of two, I know the importance and the cost of health care, and I understand that every single person in our district and all throughout Virginia deserve to be able to live free of thinking that their big bill isn't going to be coming from that they are going to be able to afford health care.
Thank you. I'm going to now go to a county level. From a county level, what are we doing in terms of making healthcare deeper and wider for people so that people have access? And we'll start with our supervisor, the vice chair of the Board of Supervisors of Fairfax County, Penny Gross.
Thank you so much and good evening. I am Penny Gross. I'm your Basin District Supervisor. I'm running for re-election. I don't have a primary, so you won't see my name on the ballot until November. Healthcare, you know, we appreciate what they've done at the state for Medicaid expansion. But when you need a doctor or when you need some attention for your health conditions, you don't go to the state. You come to the county. We just opened across the street at First Christian Church on Tuesday, the new home of the Colmore Clinic. It's a free clinic. It's now going to be operating 3 days a week. And it is...
Dar al Hijrah is on the board.
And Dar al Hijrah, yes, they were represented at the ribbon cutting. We also are opening a new federally qualified health clinic in the county. We've got a couple of them that also will provide free or low-cost health care. I also sit on the board of trustees of a no health system. I represent the county, and I'm constantly reminding them of the need to do community. And so I also am the chair of the Environment Committee. We are just putting together a new Office of Climate Change and Energy. Clean air will go a long way to making sure that our population is healthy. If you can breathe clean air, you're going to be healthier. So we're also doing that on the environmental side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to Alicia Clare-Hopefuls. Alicia is running for the chairman of the Board of Supervisors, or chairwoman.
Just chair. Yes.
Chair.
My name is Alicia Clare-Hopefuls. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. This isn't my first visit here, and I'm so happy to be back. In terms of healthcare, I agree. I think I recently spoke with some county employees who were talking about their high premiums and their inability to pay for health care, especially as they retire and have to foot the bill for their premiums. And you know, really what they want are either lower premiums or access to clinics, these health clinics that we can bring to the county. Now, my husband actually is a doctor, he's a physician, and he would love to volunteer and partake and participate in some of these clinics. One that he recently was trying to, when he first moved to the area, was actually closed down. So I do think we need, it's wonderful to see that we're opening more healthcare clinics. I would just say too, that we also need to think about mental health, and again, thinking about mental health for not only for our adult populations, which is served by the Community Services Board, but also for our children and the stress that they are facing in schools. And so additional counselors for them is something that I would advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now now we're actually going to move this. Oh, I'm sorry. Eric Alowitz is running for Providence District, and Providence District is west of here. So if
That's
you
my
live,
district.
Oh, that's your district? Yeah, I live in Providence too. But if you live in West Falls Church, where there's Falls Church, Fairfax County, if you live up towards Oakton, that area is all Providence District. Erica.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here with you all. Some friends and familiar faces here. My name is Erica Yalowitz, and I am running for the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors in Providence District. I believe that healthcare is a human right. It is the most important thing for us to be healthy, to be working, to be productive, and to help our families. So, as Alicia mentioned, one of the issues with healthcare is the costs that many in our community are burdened with. So, mental health issues also affect our community and our schools. So it's very important to preserve these services and to make sure that we have healthy communities in Fairfax County. The options for partnerships should always be on the table. Public-private partnerships can benefit the community and also lower the costs of healthcare. So it is very important to keep this dialogue open and to make sure that everybody can access healthcare through a voluntary clinic or a county or private clinic. Lastly, I just want to invite you all, if you are in Providence, to make sure that you tell your friends, you tell your family that Erica Yalowitz is running in the Fairfax Providence District, and to vote for me on June 11th.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move this, yes, but I want to stay on health for a second, then I'll come, we'll give you 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our school board candidates to talk about mental health in public schools, because that's something that I think we have an issue with, and instead of, the school to prison pipeline that we have, unfortunately, if we can get more counselors in our schools, for example, or other things that you all will suggest, what is it that you would do to address mental health in our schools? I'm going to start with the school board candidate that is not in this district, because she's from Providence District, and then I'll come back to the school board candidate in this district. So, John.
Hello everyone, my name is John Yun. I'm running in Providence District, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm especially thankful to connect with this group because religion is very important to me. I grew up in a very strong faith-based family, and I learned to look at God before men and to rely on God's strength and His power. And I do what I can to serve the people, which is why I decided to run. It's an act of service for me, especially education. And mental health is something that always hits so close to home because I have a really deep personal story around why this matters to me. And I saw how real it is, and that the conversation that we have around mental health doesn't fit the reality of mental health. And there's a lot that we can do as a school system. There are policies in place that that mandate the ratio of 250 students to 1 counselor, which is not enough. Our guidance counselors are overwhelmed to the point that we no longer call them guidance counselors, we call them school counselors.
Yes.
They need more support, and I have the data science background to dig into the $3 billion budget to find that funding to actually make it happen. And this is urgent. We need to act fast for this, because this environment of this technology-driven, isolating environment is hurting our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we go to Ricardi Anderson, who's running for Mason District School Board.
Good evening. As Slave said, my name is Ricardi Anderson. I'm running for Mason School Board. I have been a principal for over 10 years. I was a teacher for a number of years. I have been in schools for 23 years, so this issue is very near and dear to my heart. The ratios, while they're under what the state requires, it is still not enough, as was just said. Our counselors are overburdened with a lot of other tasks, a lot of other administrative tasks, which really prevent them from having access to students. When we say in Fairfax County we need to know students by name and by need, we need to have lower ratios so that if a student is having an issue, the counselor who's assigned to that student has enough background, enough touches, enough opportunities to engage with that student so that they know that there's something going on to follow up on. Additionally, in terms of avoiding the school-to-prison pipeline, which is another issue that I've always advocated for, we have to provide our counselors and our schools with some alternative methods to handle discipline with our students. Restorative practices, mindfulness, all of these things have impact. As a school principal, one of the things that I put together in my former school is yoga for our students. You would not even realize how much impact that has on how they view themselves just by having that opportunity to de-stress. Using restorative justice practices really allows us to get to the deep issues, the root causes of what is going on with our students so that we can address it instead of just punishing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Jessica Swanson, also running for Mason District School Board.
Hi, I'm running for Mason School Board and I'm Jessica Swanson. I live right around the corner from here on Patrick Henry Drive, so this is my neighborhood as well as yours. And I'm glad to be back here. This community, I've seen you do a lot in our local schools with supporting our students and with the health clinics, and so I appreciate all the efforts that you bring. And I'm really excited to see this community increasing its activism, and I'm so excited to continue to partner with you over time, and I hope that you stay active. So I think our other candidates have already talked about some really important issues, but one thing I would say different, I run the budget work at DC Public Schools, that's my day job, and I think in Fairfax, we may agree on counselors, but what is important is that we actually direct the resources to places where there is need. And Mason has more needs than some other parts of the county. And so one of the things I will focus on is prioritizing resources in the Fairfax County Schools budget to support the needs that we have in Mason. And as I've been running, I've talked to a lot of folks in Mason District who talk about bullying, right? Bullying is an issue in this particular community. Congregants telling me about their students who are being bullied for various reasons, and it certainly is a mental health problem when your student is afraid to go to school. And so I think we absolutely must invest in training for our teachers to support them in positive behavior interventions, and I think we should invest in the restorative practices so that our students don't experience this bullying, and so that our teachers are equipped to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you. And guess who walked in? Mr. Moon, also current school board member at large. The question is, and you're going to jump right in, the question is, what would you do about mental health in our public schools?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I know that I was going to participate today. Listen to other great candidates, debating amongst themselves. But first of all, I've been to this mosque, quite a few times. I've been representing the entire county of Fairfax as a school board member, first as a district board member, and then subsequently as an at-large board member for 20 years. I'm running again. It's exciting to be able to continue representing many members in diverse communities in Fairfax County. And I'm looking forward to work with duly elected board members in the next board, because we are expecting at least five board members. This is a graceful system where my own two kids that have been great. Since you're talking about mental health, we do. That's a serious issue we need to address, and that requires work, not just the schools. We need to work with the families, parents, and community stakeholders as well. And the mental health, a large part of that could come from stress from a student. Sometimes students put on themselves. Also, school system may be asking too much out of students. Putting a lot of stress on their homework load. There could be a drive to get straight A's. You don't need to have straight A's. You don't need to have 4 or 5 hours homework each day to become successful. What you need to be able to provide students wholesome school experience, and that requires a lot of work amongst, as I said, schools and teachers, parents, and community. Thank you.
All right. Continuing the mental health, or health, but mental health, I want to take it over to the Commonwealth Attorney, candidate Steve Descano. Please tell us about mental health versus locking people up. Is there another way of dealing with health-related issues other than just simply locking people up?
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Descano. I'm running for Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney, which in most places is called District Attorney. And this job is essentially the leader of our county's criminal justice system. And the idea of what does mental health have to do with the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and the answer is actually quite a bit. Because what we have to recognize that a large percentage of the crime that is committed in Fairfax County is committed because of individuals who are having mental health crises. And the problem that we have right now is we have a criminal justice system that is not invested in getting these individuals the help they need, because it's quite frankly, it's easier to just lock people up, not get them the help that they need, put them back on the street, and continue the cycle ad infinitum. What we need is a leader of our criminal justice system, a Commonwealth's Attorney, who will take a holistic approach to this, that will recognize when individuals are committing crimes because of mental health issues and get them the help that they need instead of criminalizing them. If we can get individuals the help that we need and keep them from getting criminal records that ruin the rest of their lives, what we will have is we will have members of our community who are fully functioning members of our society and who can go out and without limitations get an education, get housing, get jobs, and be what we want, which is part of our community. And that will keep crime down, and it will build our communities up and make themselves stronger.
Thank you very much. And last, but certainly not least, Chris Turner running for the Soil and Conservation Board of Fairfax County, and he'll tell you what that's all about.
Thanks, Dave. I'm Chris Kerner, probably a last name you can't pronounce, but Chris is my first name. I'm running for one of the 3 seats on the Soil Water Conservation District. You probably don't know too much about what that does, but with the topic of health, both mental and physical health, I think environmental health comes very closely. It relates very well to that. I spent 35 years as an environmental scientist and engineer cleaning up toxic waste sites around the country and around the world. As you probably know, a lot of toxic waste sites end up being near low income or ethnic communities because it's easier to get things sited there. I spent a number of times working with environmental justice issues to take on some very difficult sites and help develop teamwork with the different neighbors, and so we got some good results. In fact, when I was a regulator out in California, I actually settled the first Superfund site in the state with an ethnic community in East Los Angeles, and it was one of the most proud things that I did. I'd like to thank my friend Abrar for inviting me tonight, and I'd also like to thank Supervisor Strauss for a very important vote this week where they voted to uphold the Chesapeake Bay Commission that I chair when we were looking at dealing with floodplains and resource protection areas with a developer that wanted to build in the floodplain. We denied it on the committee, and the Board of Supervisors did a great job denying the application for the appeal.